think the biggest mistake people make is they abdicate versus delegate. So they think, oh, I'm going to do passive income. It's not going to be that hard. No, it's hard. Everything we're doing is hard. It's a simple model, but it ain't easy.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani, and today we have a returning guest who's an absolute master at turning dirt into dollars, Mark Podolsky, aka, I love this, the Land Geek, has done over 6,000 land deals and built a business that runs pretty much on autopilot. He's helped a huge number of investors create passive income without dealing with tenants, rehabs, your usual issues that come up in real estate investment. Mark, welcome back to the show, brother.
Shahid, thank you so much for having me. So great to see you again, brother.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. I've been noticing and seeing the growth that you guys are experiencing with your program and how you're helping people, because really at the end of the day, everybody is looking for something because they're not fulfilled. So if they're working in a job, for example, the funds don't carry you anymore. What you could get for $100 before compared to what you can get now, there's a big difference, but the salaries didn't shift. So opportunities like yourself, I get really excited to bring you on the show, because even entrepreneurs, they might have their business, or business owners, they have their business. But my biggest thing is that if they're not adding multiple sources of income, you're putting yourself into a trouble zone, because anything can happen with the one source. So having the multiple sources, you have that cushion, that stability, that safe zone. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's actually my whole mission in life, is to help as many people as I can solve not just their money problems, but also their time problems. Because once that passive income exceeds their fixed expenses, then they're working because they want to, not because they have to. And to your point, this could just be one stream of income.
Yeah.
And then when they solve the time problem of it, they can move on to another stream of income.
Yeah. You want to get to a place where it's providing you the amount of money before you're able to diversify and go into another opportunity. And this one fits really good with people, this real estate. And I know from our last conversation, you mentioned about your system is automated with the virtual assistants, and over time it probably got to a very precision point in your life. And especially with AI now, you're probably noticing, or I'm not sure if you haven't dabbled in it yet, but it's going to get even more easier for people to do this business with these automations, because even virtual assistants are coming in AI now. So
yeah, I mean,
so
when
all these things,
when your name's a Land Geek, you go all in on AI. We are so geeky over here.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, if someone had to start today in no tech, no team, just AI, how would you go about doing this?
Okay, so if you have no tech, you have to have tech.
Just ChatGPT.
With just ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is going to, at this point in time, at the time of recording, ChatGPT is going to help you with a number of things. Number one will be strategy. Number two would be marketing. Mm-hmm. And I think it could also help you on the sales piece of it a little bit as well. For example, one of my prompts is, let's say that you email, you're interested in some land I'm selling, and you'll have a certain way of asking about the land that'll be completely different than everybody else. So I'll take your email and I'll say, based on Shahid's email, what is his disc profile? And then respond back to his disc profile so that we're aligned. And it will then come back with an email that you'll think is just completely custom to you and the way you think, and would be way more persuasive. But I think in the future, it's not here yet, every aspect of the land business will be handled by an AI agent. So if we break down the business, the first part is county research. My AI agent could go and scrape
Everything.
could just scrape the market and see it, right? And say, okay, based on your budget, this is where I would start doing your mailings. Okay, now I need a list to mail. Go ahead and create a list of property owners and gather the data at this website, like lgpass.com. Once you get that data, scrub it out, all the industrial, residential, like we just want vacant land, scrub it by use code VL vacant land. The agent will do that. Upload that list to this software so that it'll automate the mailing. Then the mailing goes out, right? Then as it comes back, sellers will respond. 3 to 5% of sellers will respond. An AI agent will then call the seller and say, we received your letter.
So now we know what you're working on, Mark.
Yeah,
now we know.
exactly.
So that's what's coming.
This is it.
Right?
This is what's coming. It's coming. But in the meantime, if you're a virtual assistant, it's going to make your job much easier as well. So we're all going to become more productive. It's a good intern right now.
Mm-hmm. And even now, we speak as of today, there's models where you can develop all this yourself, ability to create tools and actually create tools for other people, for business, for niches. So without going into creating those tools, you could simply even go to ChatGPT and create a project. If you have the paid version, you create a project. I live by ChatGPT. It's my marketing, it's my everything.
Yeah.
You can go in there and give all the project files that you need for the system to understand. And then you could say as a prompt, for example, act as if you are a land investor, world renowned, and give that information in. I don't know if you ever tried it. I didn't try it, but wouldn't it give you all the steps that you need to do? And then each step, you can dive deeper into the research aspects and all that to do this. I know you have a coaching program and a product that people want to get mentored, and I highly recommend that, obviously, because the only way to get real results is when someone is holding your hand that's been there. A mentor is super special for me. Mentorship changed my life, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying if with ChatGPT, things are different. So could they potentially do that? And if they did, where would they fall short and they need your help?
Yeah, it'd be very difficult.
This is an important question. Sorry, important
So
point,
it'd be very
to
difficult.
talk about, right? Because it's on people's minds.
No, it's great. I think it's difficult right now for ChatGPT to break down every aspect of the business because the business is so niche and there's not that much information out there to do it. So it could give you good information, but it wouldn't give you exactly what you needed.
Experience-based.
Experience. It doesn't exactly. And then also you might not know the right questions to ask, even if it was all out there. So it could be garbage in, garbage out. So I created my own clone. And based on that clone, it's got millions of hours of my content. And I don't know, millions, but it's got
that
millions
can
of
only
words.
Come from you.
Thousands of hours. It's only came from me. So think of all our training, all the podcasts,
everything,
all the Q&As, everything.
So you live forever.
I live forever. And you can call it, you can text it. It sounds like me. Yeah. But you still have to know what questions to ask it to get the information that you want to get really valuable information.
No, that's wonderful, my friend. I'm excited for the future.
I
feel artificial intelligence, machine learning is going to amplify multiple sources of income with so much ease that kids as younger youths are going to be setting up these sources of income with a touch of buttons. And I just feel like abundance is going to be more commonplace with artificial intelligence.
I agree, besides the existential threat. Yeah. But we can talk about that. But other than that, I think that it's the greatest thing ever to happen to humanity. So if we go back to our history and how we evolved as hunter-gatherers. And it was a great time to be an individual. You worked a little, you ate, you slept, you moved around. And then all of a sudden, we got into farming. And farming was very hard on the individual. It was great for civilization and society because we didn't have to keep looking for food. But in the same way, life for the individual has not gotten better. It's just very hard life. But now, I do think with AI,
Yes, sir.
we're going to go back to a Renaissance period where
Yes.
all the hard things will be either done by robots and machines, and we will just be our hunter-gatherers again, and we'll just do what we need to do and create.
Even deeper than that, Mark, we will start utilizing our intuition more, the inner knowing more, all that we have experienced so far. It was always that idea that came to someone intuitively. Then they researched and did the data and all that stuff. Obviously, they're very important, but the initial pinch of innovation comes to intuition of a human being. That's going to amplify a lot more because now we're going to be more calmer in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Listening to that stuff.
We're going to be like superhuman.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah.
No, I love this, Mark. This is awesome. So last time when we talked, you mentioned about you only invest in US because of the stability.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. But if you had to pick another country, if something happened, I'm not saying, I'm just saying you had to make a choice to a different country, where would you go and why?
Well, I'd have ChatGPT do the research, right? And I would say, based on US real estate law, which country has the most similar laws and has the least amount of friction in order to buy and sell raw land? And that would be whatever ChatGPT then gave me. I would go a little deeper, but then I would really narrow it down to those countries because there is governmental risk. We want certainly stable governments. We want governments that respect private property, for example, and allow foreigners to buy property. So let's just take our neighbors to the south, right? Yeah, I'd love to have oceanfront property in Mexico. Fantastic, but I don't own it. The government won't let me. I can control it for 100 years, but I don't own it.
Yeah.
Canada's got a lot of friction.
Yeah.
So the expense of actually buying the land, especially in my niche, because we're doing smaller deals, it eats up our margin. So I want something more like US.
Cool.
And I'm sure it's out there. Maybe
Makes
it's the
sense.
leads. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But
yeah, that's a good answer.
would know.
Yeah, ChatGPT would know. And that's exactly what you will notice in the marketplace too. Brands are sounding so much better. Their imaging is so much better. Their information is helping people so much better. The customer service has improved just in the last year or so. If you look at some of these brands and the experience, the user experience has taken a huge leap. I don't know if you noticed it.
I haven't really noticed it because I'm heads down. And I have a team that kind of does all that. But
no, in your day-to-day stuff.
I'm creating
your day-to-day, whatever your brands are, your favorite brands.
I just cloned myself today on synesthesia so that, for example, with my do-it-yourself investors toolkit and all that training, as soon as I make that training, technically speaking, the next day, it's outdated. But if I can go in and just type and I speak it and I teach it, it's updated immediately. I will never have out-of-date material.
Will this be a monthly fee for this clone of you?
No, the clone's free.
So clone, will it come with the package, the mentorship package, or will this be a standalone that they can just start using?
Well, to your point, that'd be tier 1 support. You go to the clone first to ask your question. And if it doesn't give you a good answer, you go to the human.
Okay, so it's not mentorship. It's just information.
It's just information, yeah.
Mentorship. But you could utilize it into mentorship.
You could utilize it into mentorship if you know the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
But that's the
Yeah.
problem
Okay.
is you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. I love that statement. All right, man.
Yeah.
What's that one thing that is most misunderstood about land investing for
It used
real
to be,
estate investors?
yeah, people used to think, oh, depending where you live, like land's so expensive, it's for billionaires, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. But our clients, they buy rural, undeveloped land, $2,500, $5,000, $7,500. So that's the first common myth, is that you have to be just rich. The second one is that it doesn't cash flow. Everybody says, oh, don't buy land. It's negative cash flow.
Yeah, like
taxes.
I want to recommend everyone that if you're watching this, definitely watch the first one we did. I think it's 2023. You could search for it on the show or even Google it. But because that episode walks you through exactly what this is, right? And this one is kind of piggybacking on it, getting more into more details.
Yeah, yeah. Essentially, as we talked about in the first podcast, you've got this one-time sale, and then you own or finance the balance. So, for example, let's say I buy a piece of property for $2,500. I flip it to you for $2,500 down, and then make it a car payment, $329 a month at 9% interest for the next 60 months. So it's a one-time sale. I get my money out on the down payment. I'm getting $329 a month now at 9% interest over the next 60 months. I don't have to deal with any renters, rehabs,
Amazing.
renovations, or
It was
roads.
good.
Yeah, and that's really the model.
And then for me, I had a lot of trouble about cash flow in this opportunity. And then we talked about it in that episode as well. We touched on it. If you had to start all over again today with zero connections, zero AI, or AI ignore, but any other connections that get your business running on a day-to-day basis, you just had to start over. You had $10,000. What would you do?
So funny. So
First,
one of my coaches, Eric Peterson, actually did this. So him and his son started with $1,000. He started with $1,000. His son was buying stocks and crypto, and Eric could only buy raw land in our model. So the first thing Eric had to do was generate cash. So he started wholesaling property. So he'd buy it and then he'd flip it real quick. And he started building up his cash. Over the course of a year, he made over $100,000. His son got crushed. I think he lost his money in the stock market.
wow.
So that's what I would do, is if I only had, say, $10,000, that might be enough actually to start going again. But I would just literally start listening to my own podcast, get trained on what to do, and just follow the steps and buy a piece of land, flip it, and start making a cash flow, and just keep doing that again. $10,000 will get me to about $1,000 a month in passive income.
How much?
$1,000 a month.
And what do you think made it? What's that one thing that made it successful compared to the crypto and other things that his son was doing?
He's in an inefficient market. So that's the whole thing, is nobody knows what their property is worth, but Eric does. So you can't go on Zillow and figure out, well, this is what my land is worth. So we're buying this asset 25, 30 cents on the dollar, and then we're flipping it. And we're making, on average, 700 to 1,200% return on investment.
So when we look at the recession, that scares a lot of investors, right? How do you feel land investing holds up?
So I've gone through it. I went through the Great Recession in 2008. My company, Frontier Properties, was profitable in 2008, 2009, 2010. I write about this in Dirt Rich. But my lifestyle was really crazy. I had Parkinson's law of money. So the more money I made, the more money I spent. And it was like one day in 2010, 50% of my income just went away. So I had a default rate of 50% on my note portfolio. And I was freaking out. So basically it took about 18 months for me to figure out how to rebalance that portfolio and get those assets to produce again. But it also made me live more conservatively as well, personally. So it was a great lesson to go through. I use the profit first method now from Mike Michalowicz. So I never have that issue again. But I would say that if you're really conservative, you put that cash aside. And then when you have the recession, everything's on sale. The world's on sale. And now you're buying and buying. So the way I look at a market cycle is during a recession, it's easy to buy. It's a little harder to sell. During equilibrium, which I'd say we are now, it's easy to buy. It's easy to sell. When you have a super hot market, it's harder to buy, super easy to sell.
So in this opportunity, is it important to involve banks, or is it just mostly done between the buyer and seller?
Yeah, banks won't finance raw land. That's why you have to become the bank. That's why you have to owner finance.
No, but the seller will become the bank. He's giving the
so
land
if I'm buying
on
from
payment.
you, if I'm buying the asset from you 25, 30 cents a dollar, I'm paying cash. Now, do I have to use my own money? Absolutely not. I can get investors. I can do a home equity line.
This concept, your concept is other OPM, other people's money.
You could, absolutely. Yeah. That's the way you're going to scale.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's three levers of scale. It's other people's time, it's other people's money, and software and automation. Pull all three levers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So passive income is people talk about it, right? It's exciting to even say it. But what's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to build it?
I think the biggest mistake people make is they abdicate versus delegate. So they think, oh, I'm going to do passive income. It's not going to be that hard. No, it's hard. Everything we're doing is hard. It's a simple model, but it ain't easy. And
it requires work.
It requires work.
It requires mindset.
And mindset. So the passive piece of it is that it's a one-time work, and then you get the passive income. But there's still upfront work ahead of you. And if you're not willing to do the work, you say, oh, I hire these inexpensive virtual assistants. They'll do it for me. They're not going to run your business for you. They are just another lever for you. But you have to create the systems. You have to create the automation. You have to create the processes. You have to manage and to get yourself out of the business to scale.
For someone actually listening to this right now, could they potentially research, contact sellers, find deals, and bring that to you as a finder fee?
They absolutely could. But why bring it to me? Why not just?
But they don't know the rest of the steps. Say if they didn't do the mentorship yet.
Yeah, they absolutely could. For sure. If they just want to get a finder's fee, absolutely they could. If they just, but there's so much involved in being able to buy.
You don't want to pass up on it, right? It's just a question that came to mind.
Yeah. I think that it's more common in these larger assets where you have $100,000, $200,000 asset. You don't want to go and get private money. You don't want to get the banks involved. More like housing, maybe multifamily. This model, if you can't afford a $2,500 piece of property,
I keep forgetting that. Forgetting that part, right? That is such a small amount.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear real estate, you're thinking multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Look, if you find $1 million deal and you don't want to do that deal, come to me. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a finder's fee. But the way I teach it,
the other ones are $2,500, $3,000, $5,000, $1,000. Very low amounts, right?
Yeah. Aunt Mildred will give you the money because you're making the money on the buy.
You're making money on the buy. That's right. So just for somebody's listening, you want to quickly go over that concept of what happens? I know the first episode we talked about it, but quickly if we can, so it connects everything in this episode for people.
Yeah, let's just use you as a case study. So Shahid, where do you live?
In Toronto, Canada.
You're in Toronto. Okay, but I'll assume that you bought 5 acres of raw land in my backyard in Arizona.
Yeah.
And you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising 2 important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in Canada, the property's in Arizona. And number two, you're financially distressed in some weird way.
Because we don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah, like your property taxes, you don't value it in the same way. As a result, the county treasurer in that county keeps sending you notices saying, Shahid, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax lien or tax deed investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5-acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale and I'm going to divide by 4. And it's going to be what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So let's just use easy math. And we'll say that the lowest comparable sale on that 5-acre in Arizona is $10,000. I'll send you an offer for $2,500. Will you accept it? Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to make sure the back taxes are only $200.
All that research.
Yeah, no liens or encumbrances. And so I'll outsource that to my team in Jamaica. They're connected to an American title company. It costs about $11. If it was more than, say, $5,000, I'd just close traditionally through a title company. But this is only $2,500. And so I send you a check for $2,300. I pay out the treasurer $200. I own it free and clear. And now I'm going to flip it and I'm going to make it cash flow. So as I have a built-in best buyer. Do you remember who it was? It's only 2 years ago.
You?
No, I own it. The neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to send out that neighbor letter saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your privacy, protect your views, know your neighbor. And then if the neighbors don't buy, I'll go to Meta or Facebook, buy, sell groups, the marketplace.
Neighbors are the first choice.
Neighbors are the first choice. Yeah. And then I'll go to the land.com, landmoto.com, landandfarm.com, landcentury.com.
Try to sell it.
Yeah. Try to sell it. And then the magic again is just in the pricing. So all I'm going to ask her is a $2,500 down payment. Then I'll make it a car payment, say $329 a month, 9% interest. And so I've got this one-time sale. I'm going to get my money out in the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. And now I'm getting $329 a month and 9% interest over the next 60 months. No renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no roads.
Sorry, I want to go back to that part. He's trying to sell it. He's not selling it at $2,500. Obviously, he's going to sell it at $10K. Correct?
No, his property's worth $10,000.
So you're still going to give it below value.
Yeah, I'm giving a 300% margin of safety for myself.
Okay, so that's good.
I want to sell it for $10,000, but if I can't sell it for $10,000, I'll sell it for $5,000. $5,000,
double my money. Yeah, you double money. Yeah. And then you were talking about the 2,500 was a loan. Is that what that is? The 9%?
No. So the 2,500. Oh, so when I'm selling it, it's a loan. So I'm taking a $2,500 down payment, and then I'm using
get your money back.
Yeah. So I use a software called geekpay.io. It's a set it and forget it loan management software. So it just automates everything for me. I get the down payment, and then I get their routing number and account number, and it just pulls from their checking account every single month. So they're never late.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, I love it. This is amazing. I'm grateful to have you back on the show, Mark. I'm hoping that these 2 episodes will bring value to people and bring some clarity to why they should take this step and being transparent. That's what I like about you, Mark, because you're not saying it's an overnight thing. You're going to work, and it needs mindset. You need to believe that it's possible for you. Yeah. If you don't expect the possibilities, then it's really hard to take the actions because the thoughts will walk you out of it, and they just say, "Oh, you don't need to do this today. Why don't you do this other thing that you do all the time that you're more comfortable in?" And that's where that mindset is super important, because without the mindset, the body doesn't move in the direction that you truly want to go in a direction. You want to go in a specific direction, but the conscious mind talks you out of it.
Yeah. 80% of business, I think, is mental. 20% is how to.
I agree. I believe it's much more mental, because the fact is that the body follows the mind and vice versa. It's our emotional state. How do we feel about ourselves? What's our story? What are we saying to ourselves on a consistent moment by moment basis? That changes everything when you start looking at yourself different. Your self-image changes. Now the world is your oyster. You just want to go in and create. And that's the beautiful part.
I mean, if you really want to do some mind bending, look for the one who's looking, and you've realized there is no self. So I've been meditating for years and years, and that's one of the more advanced product. And
can you repeat again? Sorry, I wasn't able to hear that part. It was sticking out.
oh yeah, so if you look for the one who's looking, you discover for yourself there is no self. So right now, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, but you don't see yourself. You feel like a self, but from your point of view, there is no you. And everything that is you can't find. So you have a thought. Where does it go? How did it come up? You start looking at these things. You start exploring these things. You realize, holy cow, there is no me, which then frees you to live your best life because
it's
all made up.
Just everything is right. So
everything just is. Yeah. We're just having these experiences. We're just seeing, feeling, tasting. Yeah. Right. We have these senses.
And the beautiful part is when you start playing that role of that awareness, of just being aware of those emotions, of those thoughts, of those feelings, of those actions. And you start realizing a lot of them, the habitual routines, the habitual way of being, you start realizing, oh my God, there's so much of this is holding me back. And without having that viewpoint, and if you're in it, they say fish doesn't know it's in the water unless it jumps out. Same way, when you're in it, you don't realize until you start becoming more self-aware.
100%. And you realize life just reflects back your feelings. That's it.
Whatever the inner world is. I love it, man.
Yeah.
All the best to you, Mark. Thank you so much for coming on the show once again. Wishing you all the best. And definitely when you get the AI out, we should introduce him on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I do want to just remind you that I do have that link for you and your listeners. If they want to learn more to get Dirt Rich for free, just pay shipping, and happy to support them.
Thank you so much for that offer. Really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone that has heard that offer will realize this is very good of you to provide the actual book. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. Great, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks.